Hi, this is TapCat. Welcome to the Rise of Venice tutorial on automated trade routes part 2. After recording a part 1, which was actually never intended to be part 1, it was just going to be my tutorial, I did discover a entirely separate way to automate trade routes. It's more powerful, more flexible, more profitable, but it's also a lot more complicated and fiddly. And I don't know how many people even know it exists, so I thought I'd record one more time to see if we can break that down. Okay, how do we start doing that? Number 1, select your convoy of choice. We're going to use the solar wind, then come over here to the trading route tab, and we're going to go into plan route. Now, you want to select Athens or whatever city you want to start from. And then we're going to go ahead, did it? Yeah, there we go. And just click on these additional cities, and we'll leave it at that. This is just for example purposes. Now, once you've got as many cities as you're happy with, then we're going to click on Edit Cities. Now, in our last video, everything we did was on this screen, and we talked about whether we would load or unload or sell or whatever. But this button right here where it says Captain/Manual, it unlocks an entirely separate interface. And it allows you to not only sell goods and load and unload from warehouses, but you can also buy from the city. And you cannot do that the other way. Being able to buy is great because not only do you get a chance to make money on goods you wouldn't have even gotten otherwise, but it helps keep your convoy stocked so that it doesn't just turn back after visiting 1 or 2 cities. And that also helps you make more money. It's just more efficient that way. Okay, so how do we do this? Let's start in Athens and we'll work our way through these other cities. The first function that you should set up is whether you want to offload into the warehouse, and if so, how much. Now, what I tend to do, Athens is kind of my main hub. And so I want to offload everything into that one warehouse. So I go ahead and I just click on max for that for all products. I should also point this out because this is important when you're trying to figure out what to do and how to do it. So this little icon here will bring up the list of actions and what order they're performed in. So when my convoy reaches Athens, first we'll unload into the warehouse. Then we would sell any remaining goods. Now, in this case, I won't have any because I've already said to unload everything. But you won't necessarily set yours up that way. Then you'll load goods from the warehouse and then you'll buy. So it is important to pay attention to that order because, as I said, like if I say unload everything and then I come over to sell, well, I could waste a lot of time in here figuring out quantities and all that, and it would just be foolish because there will be nothing on board ever for me to sell. Now, because of that, I am actually just going to leave these settings as they are. Now, loading from the warehouse, here you want to be a little more judicious. I do not just say, give me the max quantity of everything, because even though this convoy has a decent cargo capacity, I can take over 1,100 items with me. It's not unlimited, and I also don't want to just strip the warehouse bare. I have other convoys that go to other cities. So what I'll typically do is I'll set it for, say, 80 or something like that. Now, I should point out, you can control this by item too. So if there's something you need, like let's say in this case in Syracuse, we make meat and they use salt. So maybe I bring extra salt because I want to offload some in Syracuse. Or maybe some of the really expensive goods you don't want to bring as many of. Maybe say you only want 25 of the metal goods because it's a more expensive item and you don't sell as much. This is the kind of thing that I can't really tell you one right way. You really have to set up a particular route and watch it run a few times and see how it's going. So once you've set up how much you want to load from the warehouse, then we have to say how much are we going to buy. Now for buy, again, I do not just go max because I don't want to fill my cargo hold up with one item. You can easily pick up 200, 300 or even more of a particular item in one city. And if on a particular route you have two cities selling the same thing, you could end up with 700 or 800 of that item. And then you have no room to buy other goods, and it's just choking your convoy. So I would rather limit the number I can make money off of rather than get completely choked in my convoy and in my warehouse with one or two items that are, basically being overproduced. So I'll set the quantity at some number that I feel comfortable with, and then I set it to just 120% of production price. This is the standard amount that you'll pay in a city marketplace when it's got that supply of, the two green bars. Now that's it. Those are the four things that you pick. And then you go, this is the bad thing in a way, you have to go and define each of these things for each city. That sounds like it's going to be really complicated, but the reality is once you've done the first one, it starts to go a lot quicker. So in Caroni, I'm willing to sell as much as they're willing to buy. And I do set the price higher than this. When I sell manually, I usually hold out for like 200 for wine or 66 for lumber. I'll usually go a little bit below that on an automated trade route. How far you want to go in that direction, it's really just personal preference. In Syracuse, I actually do have production going on and I have a warehouse. So, hang on. I'm not sure I finished Caroni. So we took care of the selling, but I don't think we did the buying. No. So you do have to be careful. Like if you're kind of in a hurry, you can go a little too quick for your own good. So now we've got it set up to do that. In Syracuse, there's basically two things I need to be mindful of. One is that I do need to make sure that I offload salt into the warehouse because I produce meat. So let's say we drop off 50 salt every time we visit there. Now, that's all well and good. The other thing that I also want to make sure I do in there is I produce grain. And if I don't pick up the grain from this warehouse and take it with me, it will never, ever, ever be sold. So for this one, I would put a pretty high limit. Right now, for example, I kind of was lax and I let the grain pile up. So I'm going to want to bring a lot of this with me, dump it off in the Athens warehouse once we get back there, and then my other convoys will start taking it around. But aside from that, I guess the meat that I produce is probably the main other thing. And so actually that one we produce little enough. I meant to do max for the one, not for all of them. All right, let's try to fix that. So actually, you know what? That's fine. I'm just going to put grain and meat at max. Because for this city, again, if I don't take it with me, it's never going to sell. And then I would just go through and do the exact same thing. So again, I'd set the quantity to buy at 50, the buy price at 120%. And as far as selling goes, I'll go max and take it up to this price level. In Palermo, it's going to be simple because we can only buy and sell. There's no warehouse. So again, I'll just sell the max and take it up to that same price point and then go to buy and say, yeah, all right, give me 50. All of this is stuff you can toy with. Maybe you don't want to buy as much of some of these these items that, you know, may not trade in the same kind of volumes. What I recommend doing is once you've got this thing set up the way you want it, let's activate the trade route, and I'm going to go ahead and start the clock ticking. Clicking on the cargo tab will allow you to see what's going on. Now, I did not actually... Okay, there's salt. Good. So we'll be dropping off salt in Syracuse. That should fix my lack of raw materials message. And also, yeah, the storage cost message went away as well because we took 1,000 grain with us. So it is functioning as it should. Now, this particular convoy probably won't be as profitable as it might be in different circumstances, just because I already have an established convoy that's in this area. But I do recommend that once you set one of these things up, you do keep an eye on it. Don't just set it and forget it, because especially when you're using raw materials and, you know, manufacturing goods and stuff, hitting the right balance on these quantities, it gets tricky. And periodically, no matter how much you fine tune it in the beginning, you may find that you have to go back and revisit it, or, you know, manually, excuse me with that message, or just manually recalibrate, you know, just pick up a bunch of grain somewhere or drop off some raw materials, whatever it is. But I can tell you that using this particular method has been very profitable. Before I did it this way, and I was setting my actions on this tab here, this menu, whatever you want to call it, my automated trade routes, they basically didn't make any money. I would just tread water endlessly. And the only way I made money is if I was in my ship or my convoy doing the trading manually. Then I could make good dough. But once I switched to this, I started making millions of gold. And I'm not saying that, you know, like I'm the expert and I've made more than everybody else. But I tell you what I did is I made enough that I finished the whole campaign with no money issues whatsoever. I always had enough wealth to progress to each of the levels you get promoted to as a merchant. And, you know, it just ended all of my money issues. So I definitely recommend that you take a hard look at it and give it a try. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to help you out. And the only other thing I ask is if this was helpful to you, please consider giving the video a like, because that will help other people find this information as well. That's it for now. Thank you for watching. I hope we see you next time.